This month, it's my privilege to welcome as our guest David Valdez. We were just talking just before they came on the call. We came on the call, and I said, "Do we call you David or David?" And there was a third way to call his name, but I'm just going to call him David. I'm just going to call him the good Northern Ireland way, David. So, David, thank you so much for taking time this morning of being on our call. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. David is the Langham Partnership Regional Coordinator for preaching for the area of Western Europe. Maybe an area that we don't immediately think about whenever we think about preaching. But David, thank you so much for being on the call this morning.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Yeah. David, the first question I guess I'm interested to find out about is how does a guy from Belgium marry a girl from Northern Ireland and end up living in Switzerland? That sounds like quite a journey to me. And maybe within that journey, you could tell us how you came to faith in Christ.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so my my full name actually is David Hidalgo Valdez. So it is a very long name. And when I was involved in UCCF in Great Britain many years ago, uh, I discovered that people had many difficulties to say my full name. So that's why I chose to be called David Valdez. It's easier for everyone. So I grew up in Belgium, but my mother comes from the Flemish part of Belgium, and my father comes from Ecuador. But I grew up in Belgium. I learned to speak Dutch at home and French at school. I was raised up in a Catholic family, but I never really heard the gospel within the family. But every week, my grandmother used to take me to church, and so I went to church, to the Roman Catholic local church, every Saturday night actually with her. And it is when I was at school that I heard about the Bible, that I started to read the Bible with our primary teacher. So every day we had a Bible lesson, and it's through those Bible studies that I got every day from age 6 to age 12 that I discovered the gospel, and that I began to be interested to to get nearer to Jesus Christ actually. And it was years later, when I was 18, uh, studying at university philosophy, that really I became a believer. One day at a philosophy lecture, our lecturer, our professor, decided to read the Bible. So I was very surprised that our professor, you know, decided to read a part of the Bible. So he read a passage in Galatians 5, talking about, uh, you know, uh, the fruit of the Spirit, and it's at that moment that the Lord spoke to me and said to me, "Now, look, David, it is about time for you to give your life to me." And it is, during that time, that year, that I really became a believer. And that very quickly, I became involved in the IFES local movement in French-speaking Belgium. And very quickly, I was, involved in ministry among students. First as a student, and then later on as the national leader of the IFES Belgium movement in the French-speaking part of the country. So it is when the Word of God was opened to me and explained to me that I've been able to give my life to Christ, and it's from that moment that really I got involved with the Lord, and I got involved in Christian ministry.
So,
And then so that's part of my journey, to faith.
yeah, yeah. But the other part of the questions, maybe the bit it's almost our interest. How did you meet a Northern Ireland girl? So you
That's
did.
right. Many people said to me that Northern Irish ladies are the worst in Great Britain. I'm not sure about that actually. I think they are the best, maybe.
Yeah,
But yes.
I
So
agree.
I met Fiona when she came to Belgium to work with Youth for Christ in the eastern part of Belgium, in the town of Liège. So
Mm.
she helped there for 1 year before she went to Cambridge to study, and it's through IFES local meeting in Liège that we met, and 3 years later we got married after her studies in Cambridge.
Yeah, God, of course, has gifted you with four kids. Um, you've in your journey, it has led you to being a pastor in Switzerland. So, would you like to tell us a little bit about your church and the area in which you're doing ministry at this particular time?
Yeah, so first, I've been involved in student ministry for more than 10 years in Great Britain and mainly in Belgium. And then afterwards, I got really a call to go into a pastoral ministry in a church, in a local church ministry, and the Lord, the Lord opened a door in Switzerland. And we really felt that it was right for us to go to Switzerland. So I've been first a pastor in the northern part of Switzerland, in a very little place called Tramelan, where where there are still many evangelical churches. So for 4,000 people, we have 7 evangelical churches. So I've been involved in a local ministry there for 7 years, and then afterwards I moved to a university town in Neuchâtel, where I became a minister of a 600 members uh, church. So I was part of a team of pastors. We were five full full-time pastors in that congregation. And for the past 3 years, I've been involved as a pastor in a church which is close to Lausanne, so situated close to Lausanne, which is going to celebrate their 200 years anniversary, because the church where I serve at the moment is born after the Geneva Revival in 1823, and the church was officially formed in 1824. So that's why we will celebrate next September the
Wow.
anniversary of our local congregation, which is a very mixed congregation. So we have people of all ages, from 3 to 94 years of age. So we've
Mm.
got a good range of generations gathered in our congregation. We have welcomed many people from Ukraine for the past 2 years. So we've had almost 50 Ukrainians every Sunday for the past 2 years.
Mm.
So it was a great challenge for our church to learn to share their faith with people from other nations,
Mm.
because our local church has been used to just have Swiss people. uh,
Yeah.
and since those past 2 years, we've had many people from uh, from uh, from other countries coming, and it has changed a lot our way of living the local church. So
Yeah.
it's a great privilege to serve in this congregation, which is about 160 people meeting every week.
Yeah. Obviously you have great experience of pastoring in Western Europe. Could you tell us or give us your observation of the spiritual temperature really in Western Europe, as you see it at this time?
I think that the situation must be quite similar to what's going on in Great Britain. So we live in a very secularized society. We can see that in our churches, first in Switzerland, of course, but in most of the churches that I visited in Western Europe, we see that the Bible is not as such at the center of of the local church life. So it's a big challenge actually to have a to have a Bible preaching ministry in many evangelical churches today. Of course, there are some churches which are which have a Bible ministry focus, but it's a minority actually. So it's a big challenge to ask the leaders of local churches to put more more importance on Bible preaching ministry.
Yeah, you're obviously a busy pastor, and your life, as you've already said to us, is very busy, involved in your local church. So, how did you become involved with Langham, and what does your role involve today?
Okay, yeah, so I've started to be involved with Langham in 2009. Uh, I was contacted by a man called Mike McGowan, who was involved in Langham preaching in Africa, in French-speaking Africa. And he asked me if I would be happy to come and join him just to see what was going on in Langham preaching in Burundi. So I went with him once, and then uh, the year after, I joined him and learned to train, Bible teachers and preachers in the eastern part of Africa. And bit by bit, uh, I've been in touch with the Europe team, with Langham Europe, and they asked me if there was a possibility to start some seminars in French-speaking Switzerland. And I've been in touch with some leaders in French-speaking Switzerland, and I asked them if it would be a good idea to offer some resources to train preachers and Bible teachers. And many church leaders said to me, "Look, I think that it would be a good idea to organize some seminars for preachers and Bible teachers." So that's what we started in 2017 in Geneva, and then in a place close to Lausanne, and then in Neuchâtel, and then in Fribourg. So in several places situated in the French-speaking part of Switzerland. And it's how I got linked with the Langham Europe team. And after the COVID era, let's say it like that, I've been contacted by Mark Maniel, who is the director for Langham Preaching Europe and the Caribbean, and he asked me if I was happy to consider to be part of the Europe team as a regional coordinator for Western Europe. And um, I needed time to pray about it first, and then I needed time as well to talk with my colleagues in the local church. And afterwards, I got back, to Mark Manuel to say to him, I would be happy to do that. On the one condition is that there would be a real partnership between Langham Europe, Langham Preaching Europe, and my local church in Lavigny. And so Ruth Slater and Mark Manuel came to Lavigny, where I serve, and they met the leaders, and we made an agreement between the local church and Langham Preaching Europe to serve as a regional coordinator in Western Europe.
Yeah. Certainly, whenever I think about Langham preaching, I guess my mind defaults to Latin America or to Africa or to Asia, where we can perhaps understand greater that preaching and the training of preachers is needed in those countries, just because of the limitations sometimes those countries have. But whenever we don't sort of identify that Western Europe needs preachers to be trained, because we have such great facilities in Western Europe. So why does Western Europe need Langham preaching?
We have discovered in Western Europe that more and more pastors and lay leaders were needing uh, um, training in preaching. Um, of course, we have theological faculties. Of course, we have Bible colleges. But what people need today in churches in Western Europe is practical training to train really Bible preachers. So that's why in Langham Preaching we have considered uh, seriously the idea of having preaching movements in Western Europe. What we have discovered as well is that the Bible is less and less taught in the local churches in Switzerland and in other places. So I feel that Langham Preaching has got some great resources to help churches to preach and teach the Bible better in their local context.
Within the local churches, what is replacing the centrality of Bible preaching? What is it? What is it people are being directed to rather than being directed to preaching and to God's word?
I have discovered, especially in Switzerland, but as well in other countries, that psychology has taken a big place in the Sunday preaching. I've heard many pastors saying to me, "But look, David, we've tried to teach the Bible for many, many, many years, but it hasn't really led to the growth of the church. So that's why now we speak about psychology because it will touch more the people in our churches." So I was very disappointed about that, and that's why I thought that we should uh, make some more effort to help preachers to teach the Bible in our local congregations in Western Europe.
Yeah, yeah. The danger is teaching people that they can find the answer to the problems within themselves, which is
That's
really
right.
much at the
That's
core
right.
of psychological thinking at times. Um, at times, whenever I'm sitting and I hear that different countries requesting Langham preaching to come in and to create movements within different countries, and there's always a sense of real excitement, especially in Africa, where I would have most of my experience, or Latin America, and there's a real excitement that pastors that Langham preaching is coming in to train them. Do you have that same sense of excitement whenever you approach a Western European country, or is it a slower slog to present what Langham preaching is about and what they're looking to, or or how they're looking to serve? Maybe it's a better way to put it.
Yes, I think that in one way there is a lot of excitement in some countries, and in other countries they're just wondering if Langham preaching could give them some useful tools in order to progress in their Bible preaching ministry. Uh, I can give you an example. We did start a preaching movement in Belgium last year, but after more than 7 to 8 years of talks, conversations with several leaders. But it's true that last year I went to Belgium a few times to talk with some Belgian leaders, and most of them said to me, "But David, what we need is really a practical tool to help many people in our churches to teach the Bible. So if you can give us that, please come to us."
Mhm.
So I came back to them again. I showed them all our resources. I tried to explain them how we could use all those resources in their local context. And they were quite excited when I met them. So I met around 25 leaders at that meeting. And so it was in May last year. So after 5 or 6 conversations that I had before. So they said to me, "Look, David, if we can start in September, I would be great." And then I
Mhm.
said, "But September is in 4 months' time." I said, "Yeah, but we don't mind. I'm sure they will find some people to come." And they were about 52 people who came
Wow.
to the seminar, to the level 1 seminar in September, and
Oh.
they went through the level 1 seminar until the end of April, and it was very, very exciting, and it was a real response
Mm.
to their needs
Mm.
in that part of Belgium, in the southern part of Belgium. And
Certainly,
then
it's
and then when you go to other countries, because we went to Denmark recently with Eval Brain, who is our training facilitator, and in uh, in Denmark, it took more time to talk about the resources. But now, since we went 2 weeks ago to Copenhagen, sorry, they are excited to start a preaching club, mainly with young people in Copenhagen, with the vision to extend a preaching movement within the whole country. So it takes time to get in touch with people. It takes time to speak with leaders, to pray with leaders, and to see what is the biggest need and how can we respond as Langham Preaching Europe to the needs of those different churches in these different places in Western Europe.
certainly for myself, and we're at the very early stages of thinking about Langham preaching in the Republic of Ireland, and it's a great encouragement that you guys in Western Europe, you're in there for the long haul. How long it takes to build the relationships so that something can happen. It's certainly a great encouragement to hear that. Just as we're coming to the end of our conversation, I see that the prayer points have been put up onto the chat box, and they have been set out in different countries. And at the end of the call, these will be emailed to you, and we trust that you will use them in the days that lie ahead. Is there any particular point within the prayer points that you would like to highlight to us, David?
Maybe we can pray for Portugal because I will be going to Portugal beginning of September, and many leaders have expressed their interest in the Langham preaching resources. So I will be meeting, you know, presidents of Bible institutes, the president of the Evangelical Alliance, leaders of the IFES local movement. So please pray that something can come out of those different meetings that I will have between the 8th and the 11th of September.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, David.